everyone, my name is Kaylee Scanlon, and I am a graduate student at Westchester University, where I've started my degree in special education with a concentration in autism. I completed my undergraduate studies there, then, after graduating, I began my career in the Downingtown School District, varying from a classroom aide, long term substitute to becoming a contracted teacher this past fall in early grades autistic support classroom. Today, I'm going to be discussing pairing the right activity with the right reinforcers with students with autism and how it can relate to physical activity. I chose this topic because, being an autistic support teacher, I am constantly trying to find the right reinforcers to motivate my students in their learning process, as well as to achieve the expected behaviors for the school and community environments. So I figured it would be interesting to see how it could relate to physical activity. So before beginning my presentation, I have prepared an activity worksheet that was sent with my email. It comes with a few questions from true and false, multiple choice, and some open-ended questions to complete. This will give you an idea of what my presentation will be on, and hopefully by the end, you will have learned as much as I have doing the research pairing with the right activity with the right reinforcer in order to achieve the expected behaviors within that activity. So the objectives of my presentation will be to understand what a reinforcer is and why they're used, especially with students with autism, why teaching activities using applied behavior analysis, otherwise known as ABA, will help achieve expected behaviors in physical activities, to understand what the right activity looks like for students with ASD, and how to pair all of these strategies together to complete a successful physical activity. So I'm going to start with defining what the autism spectrum disorder is and what it looks like for some individuals. So the autism spectrum disorder, otherwise known as ASD, is a pervasive neurodevelopmental condition which affects a person's ability to communicate and interact with others. Typically, these signs present themselves pretty early on in the individual's childhood, and it can vary on what is presented as well as the severity for each person. Some of these behaviors might be delays in their language or functional communication. They may engage in repetitive behaviors such as hand flapping or twirling objects. Individuals with ASD may have trouble interpreting or reciprocating nonverbal gestures like facial expressions or such as crossed arms indicating someone is irritated. They sometimes have restricted or limited interests and fixate on them, so it can be hard to introduce new topics or items. It can be very hard for an individual with ASD to make eye contact with another person, as they may feel uncomfortable in these situations or be distracted with what is going on around them. Lastly, they have difficulties with establishing and sustaining a peer appropriate relationship, as they have delays in their social development. So that's a little background on the disability we will be talking about today. So I'm going to dive into the main topic of the presentation, which is to pair the right reinforcers with the right activity. So let me define what exactly a reinforcer or reinforcement is. It is a reward when something positive is presented after a desired behavior is preferred to make the behavior more likely to happen again. So the reinforcer for each child is especially important in order to see what you're expecting out of them. Typically, developing children can be motivated off verbal reinforcement, such as, "I'm so proud of you," or delayed reinforcement, such as earning a pizza party once there are 20 marbles in a jar. Most individuals with ASD tend to have limited interests and may not be motivated to work or be interested in physical fitness. So, any verbal praise with autism should be explicit phrasing, such as, "I like how you jumped on the blue square." With the immediate delivery of a reinforcer, a response should follow with that immediate delivery so that the student knows that was the expected behavior. When starting out, you would reward the child every time the target behavior occurs, then quickly fade reinforcers by offering less and less as the desired behavior emerges, because the end goal is eventually only giving verbal praise, and the student will learn to accept that. The next slide is an example of a preference assessment for reinforcers. I've used this in my classroom for each of the students' likes and dislikes of reinforcers, which helps my staff and I on which items are motivating and which are not. Once this is completed, it is placed with the student's data for each staff to reference when working with that child. This would be a good tool to use when getting students involved in physical activities, because if the motivating items are around, the non-preferred task may have a better outcome of completion. So this video was great on giving a description of what reinforcers are and why they serve a purpose on behavior. So let's take a look.
Also called a reward, a reinforcer is something positive provided after a desired behavior is performed, making the behavior more likely to occur again. When a behavior, such as successfully brushing teeth, results in a reinforcer, we are more likely to do it again. These reinforcers can be natural or contrived. A child may start brushing their teeth because they are given a contrived reinforcer, such as playing on an iPad, at first, but eventually they may brush their teeth because they like the way their teeth feel when they are clean. The enjoyable feeling of clean teeth is a natural reinforcer. ABA treatment programs may start with a contrived reinforcer with the long-term goal of moving to more natural reinforcers in the environment.
So it is useful for when planning physical activities to keep in mind the applied behavior analysis approach. Evidence-based means that ABA has passed scientific tests of its usefulness, quality, and effectiveness. ABA therapy includes many different techniques. All of these techniques focus on antecedents, or what happens before the behavior, and consequences, what happens after the behavior. These variables are antecedents and consequences. Again, so antecedents are events that happen right before the behavior, and the consequences following after the behavior. It is through the systematic application of antecedents and consequences that target behavior will maintain, increase, or decrease. This is how learning will occur. ABA refers to a set of principles that focus on how behaviors change and are affected by the environment, as well as how learning takes place. So the term behavior refers to skills and actions needed to talk, play, and live. So if the physical activity is planned with the principles of ABA in mind, the expected behavior should occur again. So here's a video with a little more detail of its importance.
Welcome to ABA. What is ABA? It's Applied Behavior Analysis. The origins of ABA were described by B.F. Skinner in the 1930s. It was a scientific approach to understanding behavior and how the environment can affect behavior. Some basic principles of ABA are positive reinforcement. When a behavior is followed by a reward, the behavior will be repeated. Data should be collected and analyzed in order to draw conclusions. And the scientific approach means that it can be replicated in other environments. It's a shift in perspective for many of us. It's a focus on the student as a whole person. It means we teach behavior. The social significance of behavior is key, and these elements of behavior must be specifically taught, particularly to those students who don't pick them up without direct instruction. It's an attitude of prevention rather than punishment. The focus is on adjusting the antecedents rather than imposing the consequences. The outcomes are measured in terms of generalization and the ability of the student to maintain the behavior in real-life environments, even when faced with some problem situations. So what are the 10 steps that teachers should take in order to support student behavior? First of all, identify the target behavior. Then determine the frequency, duration, and intensity. Identify the antecedent and consequence of the behavior. Then identify the environmental factors. Select a replacement behavior that meets the same function as the problem behavior. Teach the new behavior concretely. Reinforce the new behavior. Determine the reactive strategies for the old behavior should it reoccur. Create behavior goals. And finally, communicate with the team.
So when planning for an activity with physical fitness, there were many things that stood out on what to incorporate and how to do so. So first, children with ASD thrive on structure and routine. Physical fitness activities should include stations that are set on expectations and clear instructions on how to complete it. With the help of visual cues and timers, the activity can be directly understood for the child. The activities plan should build up upon their motor skills, whether it be from jumping on a trampoline to lifting dumbbells. Since typically there are a lot of adults helping out when it comes to physical education classes, this is a good time for the staff to be involved in the process by either modeling or physically supporting them through it. This also can be a good time to include peers in doing the same thing. Sometimes for students with ASD, the gym can be the most unstructured part of the building and their day. So starting in small increments where the activity may start in the classroom and work its way into the bigger environment may help with the student transition better. Last, it is best to always be educating the student on what part of their body they're working, maybe to ask them also colors or the equipment they may be using as well. So just keeping that learning going. So here on the next slide is a very informative checklist for helping students with autism participate in sports. It starts with assessing the student's needs, like what their interests are and why they are participating in physical fitness activities. Is it because they're required for a PE class, or are they trying to get into shape? Then it includes how to design the sports environment with, does the lighting need to be dimmed or quieter spaces because of their sensory needs? It includes strategies on how coaching students with using visuals when giving instructions or preparing transitions to even modifying how the tone of voice is for the instruction is delivered. Then the last part of the checklist discusses differentiation strategies with working in groups instead of individually or offering choices to them, as well as does your activity have instructional goals incorporated into the activity? I found it to be very helpful, especially for a physical education teacher who may be newer to working with students with ASD, that they can reference this. So my next video is going to show you how to set up a physical education classroom station accommodating students with autism.
Thank you for continuing to watch our workout series of how to help improve the lives of individuals with autism spectrum disorders through exercise. As you can see, we're in a gym environment, and gym is truly the most unsensory friendly environment in the entire school. Now here it's pretty quiet, but just imagine 30 kids running around, yelling, screaming, objects, foreign objects really, balls, footballs, baseballs, being thrown around. Our children or adults on the autism spectrum may have no idea what that ball is, how hard or soft it is, and that can be very frightening for them. And then the sounds, the screams, the laughter, the bounces off the backboard, things like that, all have an impact in our children's ability to perform successfully in a gym class. So, structure is key when you are setting it up. If you are a paraprofessional or an adaptive physical educator or physical educator, we need structure for our children. That's how they will succeed, and they will know of what's expected of them each time they enter the gym class. So as I just had mentioned, it's not just for PE professionals, but paraeducators, the individuals helping these children day in and day out. And when they come into your environment, this gym class, they can now help the children guide and navigate through the classroom. And you can do that with setting up numbers or stations, as you see here. Obviously, if you've seen throughout our other series, we're talking and showing visual support cards or exercise cards from our visual exercise system. Very important. Timers, countdown boards or timers can be very important to help your children understand the expectation of how long that they're going to perform that exercise or that routine. Countdown boards. You can use arrows. Arrows can direct them from after station 2, follow the arrow to station 3. So all these little things, which might seem overwhelming now, once you get in the routine and set the environment, it's gonna be so much more easier for you as the educator to set up, but most important, to help give success for our children and adults. And also, what we've seen over the years in the classroom environment or in the gym classroom is this structure, this routine can help peer buddies and help these children build relationships. So sometimes our children don't always want to listen to the teacher or the coach or mom or dad, but their peers can really help to help improve their lives, build those social skills, and ultimately help them build a healthier lifestyle. So again, structure, all these things can help our children succeed in exercise. So if you have questions, if you have comments, if you have structures and routines that you've used with your children, adults, or students, please let us know. Contact us at the Exercise Connection, contact us at NECPAD, and share this information so we can better help educate our children, our adults, and other professionals across the country. And don't forget, challenge autism with exercise. We'll see you next time.
So once the motivating reinforcers are established through the use of preference assessments and getting to know the student, you can start to incorporate physical fitness into their day. I found that there are some key factors to keep in mind, like encouraging the student while they are participating. It can be between verbal praises or high fives, just something to keep them going. Informing them about timeframes or the amount they're expected to do. Maybe saying you have 1 minute for completing bounces on the ball, then you can get a break with the putty. As being teachers, it is also important to always educate through the activity, where it might be identifying colors, shapes, body parts, or equipment that is in use. I think Coach Dave does a nice example of motivating a student while he is partaking in a physical fitness activity.
We are back again to help teach you and give you tips and techniques to how to work with your individuals with autism that you may be working with, whether there's your child, your student, or an adult that you're working with. And RJ is back again to show you a technique that he taught me, because I've learned so much from all the children and adults that I've worked with, but this is a wonderful thing that RJ taught me.
I don't really do this anymore. This would happen when I was just about 9.
Okay, yeah, we've transitioned.
I'm 12.
But one thing why this is so important is because a lot of our children or adults don't like sport. And I think often we think that sport is the only way that our kids want to exercise or can exercise. But RJ, he's a big-time reader. He likes books. And you used to tell me you wanted to be an author, right?
Yeah, but now I just want to be something else, which I can't tell.
Okay.
I can't really tell.
All right, fair enough. But you're not a big sport guy, right?
No.
Okay. So what we used to do when RJ was 9, but now he's 12, is we read books or poems. We used to read a lot of Shel Silverstein poems, which I loved because it challenged me, because I couldn't read that quick and do all that, but it was good stuff, right? And what is this book? Can you tell everyone?
So this book, and I recommend this series. It's called the Origami Yoda series. It's called Emperor Pickletine Rides the Bus. So Coach Dave is going to be reading a chapter. I picked this one out. And while I jump on this trampoline,
very good.
He's going to be reading this.
And then after you do a certain amount of jumps on the trampoline until he gets tired, then maybe we go over there and do the dumbbell press?
Okay, yeah, sure.
All right, perfect. All right, here we go. Here's how it goes.
All right.
The chapter is, "The dark side is strong on the bus, and so is the smell of pickle."
That's the chapter.
Okay, here we go.
It's pretty funny, guys.
All right. As usual, this case file would be a total disaster without me. See, even though Robsky took away Tommy's notebook and Mike's holocron, which is also a notebook. She didn't take my brother's recorder thingy, which looks basically like a keychain. I knew I couldn't record the whole trip, and who would want to, but I kept it handy in case something unusual happened. You okay?
Yeah, I'm just.
You gonna go easier? All right, I think we've been on there already like 30 seconds. That's excellent. Keep going. So naturally, when Tommy said, "Gross, Harvey, did you just pull that out of your underwear?" I hit the record button right away. So here's what happened after Tommy said, "Gross, Harvey, did you just pull that out of your underwear?" Harvey, evil chuckle. What's an evil chuckle? Nice.
I hate doing evil chuckles.
Tommy, what the hut is that? Harvey, he. It's all happened as I have foreseen. Coach Dave needs to work on his reading technique. Nice job.
I'll read this part for you. He sounded like a dying cow with a British accent.
Nice. Now let's go here. Dumbbell press, lay on the ground. Good. So again, moving, exercising, not thinking about it, but being motivated by a book, okay, which I love. Here we go. Harvey was so freakishly pleased with himself that I wanted to punch him even before I figured out what he was up to. When I did figure it out, I really wanted to punch him. We don't want to be punching people though, right?
No.
Okay. All right. He had an origami puppet on his finger, all black. It was like a black robe with a hood. And inside the hood was a pickle. What is this pickle thing?
Keep reading.
All right. Actually, a wrinkly, nasty pickle slice with a couple of mean-looking red eyeballs stuck on. I guess I got to read the previous chapters, huh?
No, just keep doing it. It's the first chapter.
Okay, keep going. You're doing an excellent job. What muscles are we working? Tell everyone.
The biceps and your arms.
Your arms, yeah. Which the bicep is part of the arm, right?
Yeah.
And do you remember what this part is?
Oh, the underarm.
Yes, it is the underarm, but it's also called the
Tricep.
Thank you. And your
Heart strap.
Yes, you probably wore that in gym class, right?
Yeah.
But what is this part of your body?
The heart.
Yes, and what's these
Chest.
muscles? Excellent. Okay, so continuously trying to educate while he's exercising, or your students, or your kids. All right, I'm going to read another one, and then we'll stand up, and then I think we'll be done, okay?
Okay, just read. Let's read.
All right, he took a long pause, enjoying the fact that he had an audience. I know someone who likes an audience.
You.
Kind of, but
You're pointing at me, aren't you?
I wish I had given him the pleasure of seeing me watch him in his moment of triumph, but how could you not look? Harvey, it's Emperor Pickle time.
Pickle-teen.
Pickle-teen! Is that a real pickle? No wonder it stings. Behold the force of the sour side of the force.
You better read the first part so they know who you're talking about.
All right, come on, stand up.
Okay.
Up, on the feet.
Yeah.
All right. So, RJ just exercised nonstop for probably a good 5 minutes. How do you feel?
Tired.
Tired, which is a good goal of exercise, to feel tired. We read some books. We learned about the muscles. What else?
Nothing else.
That's it. All right. Do you have anything else you want to tell them or help other people?
Read a better day. Read a better life.
Thank you guys so much for continuing to watch. If you have questions, you need tips, or most importantly, if you're doing something that we're not, share with us. Share with us at the Exercise Connection. Share with everyone at NICPAD. We want to help educate and make people more physically active. So give us tips, give us techniques, and again, we're here if you need anything. So we will see you next time.
As you could see, Coach Steve really found something his student was motivated by or reinforced by while doing physical fitness. He asked questions about his arms, like what different parts, encouraged him throughout to keep going, and told him the time frame he had left and kept the stations in small increments. So ultimately, I hope you learned that physical fitness is important, but not always preferred by students with ASD. So using that right reinforcer that they prefer can pair well to complete the activity. Please let me know if you have any other questions pertaining to my presentation, as well as here are the references. Thank you.